Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are navigating the crazy world of authorship. Whether you're just starting out or already established, we want to help you navigate the publishing world with confidence. My name is Larissa Sohan, and this channel is brought to you by Next Page Publishing. With the help of our industry partners, we bring you the insights on the most challenging, yet most rewarding parts of being an authorpreneur, along with the actionable tips to help you move your brand and your business forward. Don't forget to download your free copy of our book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, by visiting nextpagepublishing.net/author-your-way. Let's meet our next guest. Okay, welcome back to another episode of I Wrote That. My name is Larissa Sohan and I am your host. And today I'm really excited because we're talking about marketing for our books. And I think any established author knows that marketing is 100% of the efforts after the book is written. You spend the rest of your life thinking and talking about marketing. And so today I have Andrea Pass. She is the owner of Andrea Pass Public Relations as the expert of booking clients on podcast interviews, as well as features, quotes, and reviews in digital media, broadcast, print, and more. She creates and implements public relation campaigns in a wide variety of categories, including consumer products, lifestyle, business to business, education, health, wellness, fitness, beauty, food, authors, nonprofits, and so much more. Andrea Pass Public Relations has an expertise in national, regional, and local media relations outreach. Her strength is in relationships, coupled with her knowledge of the ever-growing media base results in her securing top media, targeted media placements to increase brand awareness, reputation management, and sales for established businesses and growing entrepreneurs alike. My goodness, you do it all. Welcome, Andrea.
I'm exhausted.
It sounds like it, but what a field to be in right now, because talk about dynamic change.
The world of public relations has changed so much over the years. And I think that today, between educated journalists who went to college to study journalism and homegrown journalists who have found an audience, we really have so many great opportunities to get a story out to the media.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you are in public relations, which relations is kin to the word relationship, because that really is what this is at the end of the day. It's relationship. I want to talk, you gave me the great fodder for the opening question that I'm going to have, but how is public relations and media different than advertising, which advertising, oh, whole new ball game to play in?
And that is what is so important. So many people, when they're planning out their marketing budgets, put all this money in advertising or email marketing, and they don't recognize that public relations should be in that mix. In advertising, you design the ad, you pay for the ad, you put in the words that you want or the images that you want in that ad, and your audience is skeptical because they know that you paid for that and you put that there. However, in public relations, because it is editorial content, you are getting the facts. You are not getting some made up something that someone wanted to share. You're working with a journalist who's telling a story or doing an interview, or a producer who's editing pieces together. And therefore, public relations has that strong belief in editorial content and truth, whereas advertising gets a little muddied. In advertising, you pay a lot of money for that ad, whether it's on radio, TV, a magazine, a newspaper. That amount of money could probably pay for a month or two or more of public relations outreach in which you are securing more media that you can then share on your social media and on your website, because you're not going to share advertising. Everyone knows it's an ad. So there's a huge difference between paid advertising and earned media coverage, which is public relations, to tell a story and get the story out about your book or your product or your service using press coverage.
There's a huge rise in pay to play placement, and that's an awkward saying. And I'll share my own story. I paid to play in radio a number of years ago. I paid to have a 10 episode airing, and it was expensive. I paid like $8,000 or something for the 10 episodes, and they promised me the world, and it ended up being awful. But there's also this, when people found out that no, I paid for this, there was a credibility hit in a lot of ways. And your to your point of earned media, there is authority with that. And so talk about some of the ways that people can move away from pay to play, because I don't believe in pay to play anymore. I think it probably worked back in the day and it probably was a good thing, but now too many people are doing it and it's not working anymore. How do people go about earned media?
And it's interesting because one of the things I stress at Andrea Pass Public Relations is that we secure earned media. We're not paying for media placements. So many TV shows now charge you if you want to have an interview on their show or a radio show or a podcast. Even print is charging if you want to be included in a gift guide or a roundup. So there is enough media to find that is earned media that you're not paying extra for. So that's what I focus on, finding those opportunities. And I joke that I'm a PI in PR. I'm your private investigator looking for the next public relations opportunity. So I'm staying away from those paid opportunities. Now, you might have a podcaster who says to you, oh, I can do this interview for $47. And it's such a random number that you think, oh my goodness, that's great. I'll do that. And then you find out that they're not even posting their podcast on any of the major podcasting channels. They're not doing social media. They're not tagging you in social media. So therefore, it's not worth the $47. And I know that sounds minimal and, like I said, random, but there could be a paid TV segment that might cost $2,000 that you think, oh, I shouldn't do that. It's $2,000. But a strong public relations professional will be able to negotiate that rate down, will be able to provide the necessary questions for you to answer so you're prepared for the interview. And that would give you experience on TV if you never had TV experience before. That's the only time I say yes to a paid opportunity. Because if my client had never done any kind of video content, then this is a great way to have one, to have that kind of an interview. But for the most part, you don't need to spend the money. If you look at all of the local television stations, wherever in the country you might be, you're seeing someone always go down the table with gifts, whether it's for graduation or Mother's Day or Father's Day or the holiday season, whatever it might be, year round. There's always an opportunity for gifts. But if you're an author, for example, for your book to be on that table, and to pay that $800, $1,400, $2,300 for your book to get 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you're not going to get that back in sales. So you have to think twice about it when there are other opportunities to share your book with the world with gift guides that you simply send the book and they'll include the book in the gift guide if you send it. That's costing you a lot less money. Or participating in podcast interviews to be able to highlight your book. And I know, that's something that I bring to the table in public relations because I know how to reach the journalists. I know how to reach the podcasters or the bloggers who are writing about books or products or services. And I have to take that horse and lead them to the water, which is the journalist, and have the journalist drink. So my client is featured. So there are so many ways to avoid pay to play, and I recommend avoiding it totally.
I think that's an excellent point, though. Sometimes we do need a training ground, right? We do need a place to practice where we have a little bit more control, maybe, in what's going on. And so maybe pay to play does make sense in that. I think coming back to the relationship part, for a long time, I worked a lot with Authority Magazine. I would get, different features and different quotes and, working on quoted and things like that to get my own features. But there was a point where, I'm on a first name email to email basis with the journalist who seemed to cover every topic that I was interested in. And that yielded a lot of press coverage for me. And so how do you at your agency put relationships into the mix when, I mean, honestly, we know in the world of entrepreneurship, it can be just all business, business, business. But how do people play into what you do?
I find that because I take the time to get to know the journalist, the producer, the host, there becomes that relationship in that they trust me. And the know, like, and trust factor, we know that that's important in business, but it's important in press pitching because the journalists know they can count on me to get them that biography, that headshot, questions, social media. An interview has to get canceled at the last minute and rescheduled. Okay, Andrea's going to get that done quickly because my clients are going to respond to me quick enough that I can say to them, this interview that was scheduled for 2 o'clock today is postponed. Can you do it next week on Tuesday at 3 p.m.? And we get it to happen. So I think it's part of always being there, being authentic, carrying through with what I say I'm going to do. Unfortunately, the public relations industry gets a bad rap because so many PR people don't follow up, don't effectively communicate, don't say thank you or how are you. And I think there's a big difference. And because I have a lot of relationships, I don't want to say easier because it's never easy to get a story to happen, but it's smoother because of the fact that journalists can trust me, that I get the job done and they don't have to worry, oh, I'm still waiting and so didn't send this information. I can't do the interview. So I think that's the relationship part. I make sure I have a great relationship with my clients. In fact, I was just back and forth. A client of mine just became a dad for the first time. So I was getting all the details.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of the first questions I asked after the holiday weekend that we had recently had. What, any news? And so I think it's that the same with the journalists I deal with. It's not just feature my client. Here is my client. This is a client of Andrea Pass Public Relations. You have to feature them. No. Hi, how are you doing? It's been a while. I really appreciated XYZ. I actually have a great story for you, short and sweet. And so they know, okay, Andrea's writing to me. Yes, Andrea, here's my calendar. Let's book the interview because they know I'm going to get it done.
It's people first, but it's also that reliability that you're talking about of working with a brand that is organized and structured. I think that's my clients and the partners that we work with. That's one of their biggest things is like, you're so organized and we appreciate that. Like, you've got your ducks in a row. And I'm like, well, I'm glad it looks like that because the ducks in my head are all over the place. But it's such an important thing of when you're that in between, when you're that go-to between two other parties that have different business objectives and have different goals and things like that, you become the thing that joins them. You become the things that shows them the commonalities in their goals and what they're trying to do and how they can help each other. I think that's really, really beautiful.
Bring up a good point, though, is that I'm that middle person. So many times the author or the business or the entrepreneur will think, well, I could do it myself. I don't need to hire Andrea. I'll just do this myself. Well, guess what? You're not trained to do this yourself. I am trained to do public relations. I've been doing this for a long, long time. And I know how to do it in a way that I'm not driving the journalist crazy. I know how to send the information the way they want. I know when to follow up and when not to follow up. I know when I have to take no for an answer and move on to another journalist. Not everyone's saying yes, but I recently had a situation. Someone sent me an email with a 16 megabyte attachment.
Oh my goodness.
Needless to say, could you imagine if that person sent that to a journalist? Totally crashed my computer because other things were coming in as well. And when I, deleted it immediately and sent an email, can you send me an overview in the body of the email? No attachment. No one's opening anything that's 16 megabytes.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessary. But I'm going to know that a journalist doesn't want that. I'm going to know that a journalist doesn't want you sending a picture that has words on the picture. It's one thing if it's a picture of you holding your product or holding your book or holding a cup of coffee, but it's another thing that you're sending an advertisement. A journalist doesn't want an advertisement. They want branding photography. They want images of your book jacket, but they don't want an advertisement. And I know how to do that. And by having a public relations professional work for you and hire that public relations professional, you're also bigger. Because perception is reality. Mm-hmm. And my publicist will get back to you, or the client will forward it to me and I will simply get back to them and say, I handle their PR, which means that journalist can't pull one over. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you see journalists who suddenly are charging. They don't tell you in advance and they tell you later. I know how to weed that out. I know who these people are. Mm-hmm. And so I am the one who's the gatekeeper for my clients Yes, do this interview. No, don't do this interview. And there are times I've told my clients, this is not the right outlet for you. If I was talking to someone who was a mom. She says, "Oh, I got an email from this podcast." Well, she didn't listen to the podcast. The podcast had a lot of curse words in it.
Mm.
She's a mom with a book about mom, not the right environment for your image to be on a podcast that includes a lot of curse words. But she didn't know to look for that. And I
Right.
knew to look for
Yeah. I think there's
that.
I mean the people that are my audience on this podcast and the people that we work with, we're in the level up phase of business, right? We're trying to be bigger, we're trying to scale, we're trying to appear of a more professional outward facing brand. Like we want the authority that comes with playing big. And are you familiar with the book Who Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan? It's an excellent, excellent book. I can summarize it. It's a 4 hour list, and I can summarize it in 10 seconds. It's about when you come up against a problem or a goal or something that you want, instead of asking, how do I do that? You ask, who do I know that can help me get that? And you and I are the who's of our worlds. You're the who of public relations, and I'm the who of publishing for entrepreneurs. It is not about committing to learning the skill myself at, at 50% the capacity of what you can do. Let's say I do, for example, I'm going to go do my own media. I will never get as good as you because it's not my zone of genius. And I don't have the time to put, the 20 years of history into learning how to do that. And so instead of asking, how do I do this? I ask, who do I know that can get me there? And to your point about building up brand authority, my publicist will get back to you. That shows that you're not only playing big, but you are smart enough to know what your limitations are and know that they don't stop you from going where you want to go. And I think that's so powerful with what you do, because in the end, yeah, investing in you, might be a couple $1,000s a month. I can't remember your pricing structure, but in the end, it comes back because I get to stay in my zone of genius. I get to do what I'm good at,
Exactly.
and you take care of the rest.
You're so right, because so many times we meet people, and especially we're networkers. We need to, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we need to be out there networking. And you hear about people that do this and this and this, and they can't do 12 things well. Or I'm trying to reach these people. Can you connect me? Because I do this and I do this and I do that. No, focus on the thing that you're the best at. You're the best at publishing. I'm the best at public relations. I'm not a social media guru. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not an advertiser. I am a press person. I'm all about media content, making sure that you are quoted, your book is featured. There might be a giveaway or a contest, but it's all related to the press. And therefore, you, the author or business owner or entrepreneur, can use this on your social media because it's editorial content. It's patting you on the back. So you can use that in your social media. And I recommend, with all of the press that I secure for my clients, post it today and post it again in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year, because it's new content for someone. So I'm very focused on media training my clients so they know how to do the interviews and they know how to be evergreen in the interviews. So my clients will never say on an interview, "Oh my goodness, we're having this heat wave and it's 90 degrees," or "Oh no, we're having a huge snowstorm outside today," because we don't want to date any of our interviews.
Yeah, it stays relevant. I love that very, very much. And I will tell you, she's not lying, because this is an audio only podcast. And that's why, Andrew, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what you told me. I'm wearing a little Santa hat right now because we're recording this. But Andrea told me, she's like, "Oh, well, this is coming out later. You should probably take that off." And that's so smart. And honestly, I don't think that way, but that's why I don't do what you do. And that's why it's important that you're even willing to give people that feedback and to coach them that way to help them better themselves and better their brand. So I know I just did the exact opposite of what you said, but I wanted to point out that you are doing what you're saying you're doing.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's so important in media training, and having someone like me media train you before you go on that interview and to review the interview afterward and work with you, is that we're then going to get a better story. It's going to get better. Your message points will get tighter. You'll be able to feature what your business, product, service, or book does. So that way, you're getting across the message. The bottom line is at the end of the day, you want someone to remember you and want to take action. And that's the most important thing. I want people to contact Andrea Pass Public Relations to hire me to do their PR. You want someone who's ready to write a book to contact you so that maybe you're the one who's publishing that book. So if we don't have a clear message, and for an author, the message is buy my book.
Mm-hmm.
They don't come right out and say, buy my book, but I train you on how to give tips in your book and say the name of your book instead of my book. Because during the course of a conversation, someone may not remember that you said your book was called Heart-Centered Marketing, which happens to be a book that I'm featured in as an author, and I wrote a chapter, Driving Sales Using Public Relations. This conversation today isn't about my book, but I'm not just saying my book, I'm saying heart-centered marketing. So that these little tips might seem little, but in the scheme of everything that you're promoting your book or your service, you need to be out there to do that so people remember you. What's your differentiator and what's your name?
Are you hoping 2025 will be the year you write your brand-centered book? Or maybe you have a business book that isn't doing what you want. No matter where you are on your authorpreneur journey, we have the secret to your success, and we're going to give it to you for free. In our new book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, we share with you the formula and tools to guarantee your business book is a success. Within the pages of Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, you will learn from the expertise of a nonfiction publisher and the real-life examples of authors who have seen incredible success using our proven strategies. We're also going to give you access to our workbook, where you can tangibly assess where in your business a book can make the biggest impact for you. This book and the companion workbook are specifically built to help entrepreneurs like you write and sell a book that converts readers into clients with the power of artful invitation and deliberate storytelling. At Next Page Publishing, we believe in helping you achieve massive returns on your investments. Your time, energy, skill, and experiences are valuable, and you deserve to create a tool that matches your worth. This book is our gift to you. Visit nextpagepublishing.net/authoryourway to access your free copy today. One little story. I did a speaking event the other day, and I'm promoting one of my new books as well. It's coming out in May, and I'm not going to name drop, but I am. And I did this presentation, and that's my lead magnet, right? I want people to sign up to receive their free copy when the book comes out. And I talked about it. I had 18 different spots where I mentioned it, not in slides or anything, but just like physically I talked about it. And at the end, I asked them, how many times did I talk about my book? And they're like, oh, a bunch. And I'm like, did you feel like I was selling it though? And they're like, no, not at all. But I wanted to use you as the study guide too. Like if you go back and listen to Andrea's episode, how many times did she say her company name? How many times did she point out that she does public relations? How many times did she promote without promoting? It felt natural. It was a part of the conversation because there is an art to that. And I think what you're telling me and what I'm seeing in you is that you teach people how to do that.
Exactly. And it's not going to happen the first time at all. The first interview, you might be nervous. It's going to take a little planning, a little preparation, a little talking to yourself in front of your computer or in front of the mirror or in front of your loved ones. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's okay. Don't be hard on yourself, but be open to feedback and to make changes. I worked with an author for a while who, no matter what I said to this author, he did what he wanted to do. So not only did he talk about his book and his business and his travels and his family and a side business, and I would listen to these interviews and my head would spin because he didn't have a point.
Mm-hmm. There's no focus.
And I discussed this with him, and no, they're getting it all. No, they're tuning out. They're tuning out because you're talking about too many things and they thought you were going to talk about your book. And instead, you railroaded it because you thought, great, I'm getting this interview. So therefore, I'll talk about my 9 million other businesses. Doesn't work that way. We have too much content. I found, here's a great statistic for you, Larissa. I just did some research recently. The average American absorbs almost 12.5 hours of content a day.
Yeah.
A day. I don't know how we could remember 12 and a half hours of content. We're going to remember a few. So shouldn't it be your book that's remembered?
Yeah, I always tell my authors too, while we're helping them write their books, is you get like what are the top 1 to 3 things you want your people to remember? Because even in books, like yes, our books, they sit with them for about 6 hours, but it's not a solid 6 hours. Usually it's 6 hours over a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever. But they're only taking away 1 to 3 things, and you're lucky if they pick it up a second time to read it because we people just don't like repetitions. I just don't. But it's the same thing. You get, yeah, in the book, you get 30,000 words to tell your story or whatever the book's going to be, but they're only going to remember the top 1 to 3 things. So what are those things? What is the most important thing you want them to take away? And for us, even in interviews and in media relations, it's usually, for me anyways, I'll speak for myself, it's what my brand stands for and who my brand works with, and then what we do because that's my evolution. That's who I want to call in. I want to call in the right people. So I want to make it very clear who I work with and the kinds and the level of service that we provide to make sure that we're the right fit for people. So I love that you brought that up. Okay, I have one more question, and I know it's a loaded question because I get it in my world all the time, and I'm like, oh, I hate that question, but I'm going to give it right back to you. How much time on average do people have to spend a week working with you? Like, so if they hire you, how much time are they spending working on this relationship with you?
Well, it's an interesting question that I'm going to kind of twist around. At the beginning, I'm spending a little more time because we're having a download call and I'm learning more about you. And once you hire me, then I'm reading your book. Okay. I've learned my lesson. I've read so many books that I didn't get hired for that I stopped reading those books. And in my spare time, I read books for book club that I want to read. But in my professional time, I'll read your book after you hire me. And then I'm learning more about you to write your biography, to write an overview on the book, to prepare some thoughts and questions on our target audience and learning who you want it to be. So therefore, at the beginning, we're spending a little bit of time. Then after that, I'm spending all of the time. So I am spending however many hours a month. Am I spending 20 hours a month? Am I spending 40 hours a month? Clients hire me for different rates based on the number of hours per month I am working on their account. You, as the author, you're spending time doing the interviews. So if there's a pre-interview, I'm on the call with you because I'm taking notes and reviewing things with you. If there is no pre-interview, and the interview, for example, is a podcast, I can't be on that interview with you. So therefore, I'm prepping you. I'm sending you some links you should listen to familiarize yourself with that podcast. And I'm going over what you need to do and reminding you day before and day of, you have this interview at 3 p.m. to make sure nothing's getting changed. It's all still happening. And then you have to devote that time. So the clients do have to devote time to public relations. If an interview is a half an hour, 15 minutes, or it's an email interview that you have to answer those questions because I'm not going to be the expert to answer in your voice. Someone who does branding is learning your voice. I am working on what is your voice and how do we tweak it so that we're getting the right message. But there are a lot of email interviews in the world of press today. So I send the questions over to a client, the client answers the questions, I edit them so it's smoother, making sure we have the name of the book or the name of the business included in those answers. And then I send that on to the reporter, to the journalist. So I'm doing that work. I'm following up. So you're telling me this interview is going to appear on whatever date. I'm making sure I'm touching base with the journalist to say, are we still set for that date? When the interview comes out, I'm the one finding all the links, sending all of the links and all the social media posts about that interview and about my client to the client so they can then follow that person, journalist, like, engage, share. Because in today's world, it's about sharing. It's about content. And so I am the one taking care of all of that. The client doesn't have to worry about all of that. I can bring in a social media pro if they don't have one. If they're looking for different types of marketing and branding, I have those experts I can bring in as well. But my job is press, and I stay in that public relations lane. So it's a very interesting question because it's relationship building, but it doesn't have to be every single day between 9 to 5. It could be, I saw something happened, I got an email, I happen to be on my computer at 8 o'clock at night, I'll forward it. I don't expect you to answer me at 8 o'clock at night. Or if I happen to be on my computer at 7 in the morning, maybe I forward something. I don't expect you to answer it, but if there's a deadline, you're going to get an email from Andrea Pass Public Relations saying, interview, this date, this time, feedback requested ASAP, and you're going to know, Andrea needs my input quickly, or I'm going to call you, or I'm going to text you. And by reaching out to you, you know the job is getting done. That's where the relationship and the time, it's hard to pinpoint the time.
Oh, I know. That's why I hate that question because people ask me the same thing. Well, how much time do I need to write a book? Like how much time a week? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it depends on so many things, but I do want to point out that doing it by yourself is going to take way longer. I went through a little bit of a stint last year. I guess it was this year, but last year, and I wanted to do 100 minutes a day of media research and things like that. So finding some outlets, pitching them, and then answering them. And I could not do 100 minutes a day by myself because the rest of my business started falling apart. And so, yeah, it was noble and it was working and it was actually going really well, but I couldn't run the rest of my business with that kind of workload on my CEO plate. It didn't make sense. So I had to pull back. But you come in and it's not like the work's not happening. One, you're doing it way more efficiently than I would ever do it. What takes me 100 minutes takes you maybe 50. And two, you're managing a lot of that workload for me. You're telling me where I need to be and what I need to do versus me having to dig and find all of that, which is huge. Again, in that world of leveling up and in business and trying to scale, we have to get smart to know where our time is best spent. And for me, it is not in searching for media. It would be hiring people like you to do that for me.
Is that we can't be experts at everything, and we have to surround ourselves with a team that's going to help us grow our business. And there are so many authors that write a book so that they will get more clients for their business. So it's important you can run your business if that's your case and you're writing a nonfiction book, because you have to work on your business, not on going out there to get all of that press. That's when you would hire someone like me, but I'm keeping you on calendar, on schedule. And if something comes up, we switch it. And listen, I did media training. I was in Riviera Maya, Mexico, and I'm by the pool doing media training. And my husband says, "What are you doing?" I said, my client needs a little help. I was standing outside Buckingham Palace in London, texting back and forth with a client because an interview came up and I didn't want to miss the opportunity. So we booked an interview while I was waiting for the changing of the guard. So it doesn't matter where we are. We're getting the job done and making sure that nothing slips through the cracks. But the author, business owner, product inventor, whatever it might be, the reason you wrote your book is for a certain reason. Are you writing your book to make money off of your book? Okay, that's fine. But is it because you have a business that you wrote a book? That's very different for entrepreneurs. And therefore, you want the book to be out there so you could talk about your business so that people will want to hire you. And that's where a good public relations person should be part of your team.
Absolutely. I love that so much. All right, Andrea, we're at time, but I want to ask you my favorite question. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
For aspiring authors, my recommendation is that you plan more than your book. What is the purpose of your book? What do you want to get out of writing your book? And therefore, you will then plan, do I want to get 3 new clients this year because I wrote this book? Do I want to get speaking engagements because I wrote this book? Am I trying to get into a doctorate program because I wrote this book? Whatever the reason that you wrote the book, that's why you have to plan and budget for public relations. It's important that you recognize that public relations is not free. I don't do pro bono work. I get paid for my services. But public relations also isn't $500 a month. The person that quotes you that, and there are many PR firms that go specifically after authors, and they charge them $500 a month. If you look into them deeply, you'll see they own all those blogs that they post about your book. They own all those podcasts. So that makes it seem like they're doing all this work for you. And in essence, they're doing no work, no outreach, other than they're trying and they're putting you on their pages. I've looked into these things. Don't let them pull one over on you. I'm finding the media that's important to you. So if you're in the auto industry and you wrote a book about something related to the auto industry, I'm going to find reporters that cover the auto industry. If you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I'm going to find those media outlets. If you want to target parents, I'm going to target parenting publications and parenting writers. So it's important that you find a public relations person that is going to have the know-how. And I'm hoping that might be Andrea Pass Public Relations.
And I'm thinking it should be, which brings me to the last part. Do you have anything for our listeners that you would like to offer as a thank you for their time today?
Let's chat. If you go to AndreaPassPR.com in the appointments tab, book a complimentary half an hour with me. Let me know a little bit more about your book and your goals. Let's talk about how public relations should be part of your marketing planning as you move forward.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to make sure to put that link down in the show notes so you can grab it there. Andrea, I want to thank you so much for not only all the information you gave us, but showing us what that who, not how mentality can do for us and demonstrating so beautifully how an interview can really work for you and how you can make it feel natural. But I know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. We're putting those plugs in, right? We're showing people what we can do. We're showing people who we work with. We're telling them our name over and over and over again. So it was beautifully done. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for tuning in to I Wrote That. Don't forget to download your free copy of Author Your Way to kickstart your journey as an entrepreneur. You'll find the link in today's show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. Until next time, happy writing.